Toronto is a beautiful city, known for a lot of things: the CN Tower, the Raptors, and its raccoons. But what most people outside the world of geoscience don't know is that the city is built on the mining industry. Many of these tall buildings host offices of mining companies, from juniors to majors, and nearly 60% of all mining companies globally are listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Despite being a city with very few rocks, Toronto is a very important city for the field of economic geology.
Toronto may be the financial hub of the mining industry in Canada, but it doesn't take much to see that the actual mining occurs far from the city limits. One of the most prominent mining cities in Canada is Sudbury, Ontario. Since you're likely watching this vlog to see some rocks, not buildings, we've decided to take you on a short trip up to the greater Sudbury area. Sudbury is located 4 hours north of Toronto and hosts several world-class magmatic, nickel, copper, platinum group elements deposits. These deposits formed following a meteorite impact around 1.85 billion years ago, known as the Sudbury event. The Sudbury structure comprises 3 parts: the Sudbury Basin, the Sudbury Igneous Complex, and the Sudbury Brecha. During this vlog, we'll be visiting outcrops from each of these units.
Our first stop is to Annapping Falls, about a 30-minute drive northwest of Sudbury. Here are some of the best exposures of the Annapping Formation, the basal unit in the Sudbury Basin. These rocks are a part of the sanctuary member of the Annapping Formation that have been described as fallback breccia. You can see that the rock hosts several different types of clasts: granite, basalt, and chert, to name a few, all representing the country rock that fell back to the surface following the impact. In some clasts, you can even see the original bedding from the country rock. Our next stop is to the Sudbury Discovery Site. The original discovery site is actually located within the filled open pit of Murray mine across the street, but when the railway and road had to be relocated as the mine expanded, they moved the landmark along with it. This site was discovered during construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1853, and the rocks are a part of the contact sublayer, the lower portion of the Sudbury Igneous Complex. The contact sublayer hosts much of the nickel-copper PGE mineralization and occurs as discontinuous bodies between the overlying norite in the Sudbury Igneous Complex and the underlying footwall rocks. We were able to find some pyrite mineralization in the rocks on the other side of the train tracks.
On the way to our next outcrop, we drove past the Murray mine and could see the smelting stacks in the distance. The largest of the 3, known as the Sudbury Superstack, was built in 1972 to disperse the sulfur gases away from Sudbury. Prior to the construction of the Superstack, the effects of smelting had severe ramifications on the environment, killing most of the vegetation and staining the rock outcrops black. Over the last several decades, there have been immense efforts to rehabilitate the ecosystems in the Sudbury area and significantly reduce pollution and waste. One major rehabilitation method has involved successfully covering the mine tailing piles with grass. One of the key pieces of evidence for the meteorite impact are shatter cones, which are beautifully preserved just outside the Laurentian University campus. These conical structures form when an intense shock/impact causes fractures to propagate, nucleating from imperfections in the rock, such as coarser grains. These cones act as arrows, pointing towards the impact site. As they're all pointing down on this outcrop, it's clear that the rock has been tilted from its original position.
Our last stop was to Dynamic Earth, Sudbury's geoscience museum and home to the largest nickel in the world. But before we got to the nickel, we were stopped by some beautiful Sudbury Brecha outcrops with very prominent glacial striations. The Sudbury Brecha occur around the outermost unit of the Sudbury structure, consisting of brecciated footwall rocks that mostly occur adjacent to the base of the Sudbury Igneous Complex. The fragments in the breccia consist of interbedded siltstone and argillite, and fragments of the Nipissing diabase. These blocks are hosted in a fine-grained to aphanitic matrix that may be pseudotactylite or recrystallized. The Sudbury Brecha is a very important unit in terms of economic geology because they are often associated with mineralization in the footwall deposits. And lastly, the Big Nickel. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Canadian money, the nickel is our 5-cent coin. This coin replica was constructed in 1964 and pays homage to the city of Sudbury for its immense contribution of nickel to Canada and the world. The familiar Sudbury Stack and refinery buildings represent the great history and future of mining in the city of Sudbury. To have become one of the most significant nickel-copper PGE deposits in the world from a single outcrop, Sudbury is a remarkable example of scientific and technological advancements in the field of economic geology, and we are so glad to have been able to showcase it to you.